can't get better educated for the simple fact of one-on-one.
One-on-one.
I don't care how dumb the parent is.
Exactly. I've seen parents with a high school education do just as well as somebody with a PhD.
Absolutely, because you can concentrate on the areas your kids do well in.
If I could build a school where all the kids had one-on-one education with teachers, we wouldn't have an I-STEP problem. And it's...
I'm against I-STEP, but that's a
whole... Well, yeah, that's a whole other argument. I am too.
But you're right.
But yeah, but the point is test scores would be better, their education would be better, their SAT would be better, the whole works would be better.
So no problem with...
But we also can't do that for everybody.
As an educator, that's really good to know, because Indiana has one of, I've learned over the last few years coming to the other side of the aisle, that we have one of the largest communities in homeschooling, and I have a 1-year-old. I'm actually thinking about doing this.
I'll tell you what I fear is there is no way this president's agenda can succeed long term without getting control of the kids.
Oh, absolutely.
When you look at the socialism, the level of
but I'm going to correct you. It's not this president by himself.
No, it's not.
It is our form of government at the moment. There is no difference.
I won't say the form.
Between Democrats and Republicans sometimes. It's what's scary. Republicans seem to be coming around and getting the message.
It's not an argument.
Constitutional or conservative.
It's not an argument of Democrat and Republican. I'm a conservative first. I'm a conservative libertarian before I'm a Republican.
Now that gets some people in trouble. Be careful with that.
I can't change who I am.
Good for you.
And that's just it. I believe in the free economic system.
Free market all the way.
There are very few things I would really think is better regulated. And when we look at how the cause of this economic collapse is government meddling.
You can look through history and learn.
But when it comes to the parties, let's look, when you look at the classic progressives, Teddy Roosevelt. Eisenhower really wasn't a conservative. George Bush was not a conservative. And when you look at...
No,
he was a good, decent Christian. And don't get me wrong, I'd rather have George than I would Barack.
I think they're both...
But I think there's a better solution.
Yes.
And
follow the Constitution.
That's it. That's essentially
scary thing.
And it scares me that we'll never get back to what it was meant to be.
Oh, don't say that. This is why I do this show and try to educate people, because I found all this out in a weird way, and I'm hoping I can do my part to change it.
When it gets down to it, I'm not going to live in a country controlled by those with the mentality of Nancy Pelosi.
Well, I just think anybody that thinks socialism is the way to go, and I used to think it, but if you start to look at real economics, go to Cuba.
Go to Cuba. Go to the Soviet Union. Go to East Germany.
You really just want your food and pie, but we're back on federals. We're going to run out.
Well, I believe it was either Jefferson or Benjamin Franklin that said, those who are willing to trade security for safety deserve neither.
That's my tagline on my email.
Okay.
Interesting enough. Yes, they will get neither and
they deserve none.
Yeah, you cannot.
That's dead on. And that is absolutely right.
Kern and Shepard report. Are you familiar with that? That's where they want to consolidate local governments.
Yes.
Some things have been thrown out, like they wanted the sheriff appointed.
Yeah. That sent shivers down my spine.
Okay, good, because they did mine too.
There are some things on that. I got 3 categories with the Kern and Shepard report. Things I really can't argue with. Things I really don't know. And things I wouldn't do for $1 million. Things I really can't argue with. I have no problem taking the county commissioner down to one office as long as it's elected.
Okay.
And giving the county council legislative authority. Our county council right now has one authority, and one authority only.
Money.
Money.
I've had Mr. Butterford on here many times.
They can't make laws. They can't.
And it's hard too when you hold the money to not be able to adjust things accordingly. So
you can manipulate, but it's silly to have a legislative body that can't legislate. Meanwhile, we have 3 county executives that kind of can't get anything done because they have to go to this group for the money. They have to legislate, get permission, legislate, get permission, and then administrate. An executive, if they shadow that government more like the state and federal government, you'll have one executive who administrates what the legislative body does. So you have a county commissioner who's essentially mayor of the county, elected. And elected. The initial report and the initial thought was, well, we'll have that as an appointed position. No way do we want an appointed administrator. You want them directly responsible, directly accountable to the voter. Then we have the legislative body now that has complete, just like the city council, just like the state. You can make laws, you can legislate, and then it has to be approved by the executive with oversight. So you have some counterbalances with each other. I don't mind that change. I think that's probably...
What about township? I don't know how familiar... are you good or bad with
that's
township trustees?
Coming to the sheriff first.
Okay.
The sheriff is established by the Constitution of Indiana, not any other law. He's the highest legal authority
in the county.
He's
the only one that can arrest the mayor.
Yeah, but there's only one slight exception. The coroner
can arrest
sheriff.
I learned that too.
That's funny. Beyond that, though, the sheriff is the highest ranking.
Right. If we need a state militia from Indiana, we need anything. Yes. If somebody comes into our county, he's it. He can beat the feds if he needs to.
We don't want that position appointed.
Nobody
you talk about a level of corruption that's unstoppable. Is you have appointed cop with unlimited power.
Well, and then it becomes who appoints him. If it's the mayor and that's the guy he can arrest, well, then we have
right. So I would never support a constitutional change that would change the sheriff anything other than an elected official, term limited.
Okay.
And that's what we have. We have an elected man who doesn't have to be a cop, doesn't have to have any police. It could be anybody. It's usually the sheriff's department that runs and wins. But it's
because you kind of want them, like the coroner has no real requirement.
Right.
It doesn't even have to be a medical degree.
In many cases,
kind of want.
Well, and then there's a lot of places, I've seen situations where the coroner is not a doctor. He just hires doctors and signs off on the reports.
I don't think our one that was forever O'Shaughnessy, he was a dentist, I think.
Yeah.
I mean a doctor, but he was a dentist, different kind.
But, he still had a basic understanding of
body parts.
I want a guy that knows body parts. That's me.
Yeah.
But and it's like Elena Kagan, the Supreme Court, I kind of like to have somebody that was a judge. Just saying. But that's a whole other issue.
We had one case. I'm with you on that, though. That's so scary. Because...
But, Taft was on the Supreme Court for years. He wasn't even a lawyer.
I'm okay with lawyers not being on there. But judges, I actually
I think they ought to be judges. But, there's always an exception to that rule. But when you come to township government, I support township government. I've always believed smaller government's better. And I don't have a problem with consolidating government. But here's what's going to happen. The essential for the folks that really don't know what the township office does, their biggest job, now keep in mind, the township was the first office in the county. It was established prior to 1830. The county was divided up into essentially squares and a township assigned. The central part of that spot in that township was set aside for schools. And if you look at our state, St. Joe Central School is dead center in the center of St. Joe Township. Adams Center School is the dead center of Adams Township. Pleasant Center School, those are still the ruins of the old township government system. The original trustees were the sheriff, had the power of the sheriff because there wasn't anybody else there. Had the power to do land deeds, had a whole lot of power, and that has been taken away from them slowly over the last 200 years. So now their prime job is poor relief.
Correct.
They handle the poor relief within the township. Wayne Township in Allen County is the largest. St. Joe Township, which is my district, 84th, is the second largest. They do a lot of work with folks that need help in my district. And here's the deal. The idea that we're going to consolidate that and put that into one big office and save money is just not going to happen because Dick Urick, Gene Urick, both of them really good at what they do, know the people they're dealing with. In some cases,
I completely. I live in Monroeville, and Max Myers.
Yeah.
He's even on the other side of the aisle to me now, but he's still a good guy.
They know the people they're dealing with by their first name.
Right, and they know who maybe would scam in there, and they know someone that maybe not scamming.
Not scamming, and they really needs the help.
And
they're on the ball. They're really.
And why would I want to drive to Fort Wayne? I'm poor and need help.
Right. So I'm going from Monroeville
to Fort Wayne, 30 minutes away.
St. Joe to Fort Wayne. Exactly.
When I can maybe, if I can't afford the gas in my car, I can walk.
And that's true. Now I'll give you one exception where I would agree to consolidate. If the voters of the community vote to do away with their own township and consolidate, I have less of a problem with that. I don't think that will happen.
Here's my